But first, a European Union official told Elon Musk on Wednesday that Twitter needs to beef up its anti-hate speech and misinformation measures, with potential consequences spanning to fines to a total ban in EU countries. The EU's digital chief, Thierry Breton, said during a virtual meeting with Musk yesterday that Twitter has, quote, huge work ahead in achieving compliance with the EU's Digital Services Act, which regulates content on the internet and goes into effect next year.
It seems, however, that Twitter will not be leaving the App Store here in the U.S. anytime soon. Chief Twitch shared video from Apple's headquarters yesterday with the message, quote, good conversation. Among other things, we resolved the misunderstanding about Twitter potentially being removed from the App Store. Tim was clear that Apple never considered doing so, which is something we said on the show yesterday, that that's
Correct.
not actually going to happen.
Correct.
So now we have confirmation that that was not actually going to happen. Great.
Look, is it too cynical to believe that Elon Musk floated this trying to gin up sympathy for people who are kind of perhaps overly eager to see him as the victim of free speech attacks, and he kind of stole sympathy for something that was never actually going to happen?
Yeah, possibly.
It ended up seeming like he won something that was never really contested.
Look, I'm glad Tim Cook cleared this up. Seems like he was the bigger man about it. Invited him down, talked about it, said that's not going to happen. Great.
I mean, look, the post, the tweet that you just read off, it was accompanied by, I think, a picture of them walking around Apple grounds. It seems like he got the royal treatment. And I don't know, it left me with a little bit of an icky feeling. Like, you know, these are powerful people playing powerful games on the internet. You know, Elon Musk can complain and get an escorted personal tour from another one of the richest men in the world around Apple headquarters. And it seems like almost like a gentleman's agreement, the kinds of which, you know, I criticized in my radar yesterday. Should these decisions, should our affinities or criticisms of these players be built on who is nice to Elon Musk, or do we need to be having a more robust conversation about what the actual rules and terms of engagement are going to be like on this app?
Well, but speaking of an icky feeling, we should not gloss over that declaration from the European Union regulator. I mean, this is, as much as we complain about how the U.S. government has treated social media companies or has forced them, you know, various directions. And they're pulled in both directions because many Democratic forces or people are yelling at them for allowing too much misinformation, allowing too much Russian influence, et cetera, allowing too much COVID misinformation. They're getting that from Democrats. And then Republicans are yelling at them for not allowing enough of all those things. And so they're caught. They have no idea how to handle both of those things. You know, however you feel about Mark Zuckerberg, he's very clearly been in a no-win position for appeasing the forces on both sides. All that said, our regulators, our politicians have much less power because of the First Amendment and because of Section 230 to directly force these companies. They can lightly pressure them. I think they have been pressuring them in a way that, to my mind, does come close to violating the First Amendment in some ways. But we are lucky to have the protections of the First Amendment, unlike in Europe, where hate speech is and can be banned in many countries. Yeah. There are people who get arrested and ticketed for sharing rap lyrics on Facebook. That's happened a number of times in Britain. A modern, fairly free country, it happens because they don't have the First Amendment.
Yeah, we saw what happened around the Queen's funeral procession and people who are being arrested for holding up blank signs, shouting things at the caravan. It's a very different place. In countries like Germany, I think Europe, generally speaking, has a different relationship with speech because of World War II and the Holocaust, and there are much stronger rules against certain kinds of speech. Now, that has always been the case to a certain degree. I know that there's a new law that's going into effect, but you know, whom among us hasn't been reported by a troll to get to Germany Twitter and gotten one of those announcements?
Yes, we all get these announcements. Yeah, I'll see people complain about, like, well, what is Twitter doing? Why does Twitter? That's European law. That's not Twitter's fault. There's a German law that you'll be notified when the German authorities are told that your speech has been reported to them.
Right.
And then typically.
Right, so people who want to get you kicked off an app will often try to use that as a way to threaten and coerce you from saying whatever it is that you're saying.
But this is very misinformation being allowed on Twitter. So Elon Musk just declared that there's going to be no more enforcement of COVID misinformation, which is terrifying everyone. Everyone's freaking out about it. But there's so much disagreement, even among health officials, for various COVID measures, and for obviously there's some stuff that is like very, very wrong that everyone agrees is wrong, but the efficacy of certain mitigation efforts of vaccines, what exactly they do, how much they help, how much they're preventing cases versus severe death, versus what ages are they appropriate for, what ages are where the balance is in favor of taking it. These are all policy questions that are well within the realm of debate and actually should have been from the beginning. And so it's I think it's fine. It makes perfect sense to take the thumb off the scale a little bit and say, no, people can freely discuss these things. But that's the very sort of thing that the European officials are worried about.
Sure. I mean, it's just worth noting that just as Elon characterized himself as being targeted by Apple, which being taken off the App Store, which did not happen, there's a way that this is being framed by some as Elon Musk is being targeted and Twitter's being targeted because of Elon in Europe. But Europe has always had that they don't have the First Amendment, they don't have these free speech rules, and whatever we think about it, that's the way it is there, and all of these apps are going to have to adhere to those kinds of standards. So we can disagree with it from our American perspective, but this isn't one of these we're suppressing Elon because he believes in speech and we don't issues. This is Europe just doesn't believe in those kinds of the speach protections.
I mean, European officials don't believe in that, right? They put in laws that don't protect
voters,
those.
we have our protections
some
because
voters
we've lobbied
in Europe
for them,
would appreciate our kind of regime. Musk and his Twitter takeover were the target of substantial criticism at the New York Times DealBook Summit, where President Zelensky himself slammed the new CEO for tweets he made this fall about a potential peace plan between Russia and Ukraine, speaking to Musk directly. If you want to understand what Russia has done here, come to Ukraine. You will see this with your own eyes, Zelensky said. After that, you will tell us how to end this war, who started, and when we can end it. Meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said she misspoke earlier this year when she said there was no basis under which the U.S. government could investigate Musk's purchase of the social media app, adding that it is appropriate for the Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S. to, quote, take a look. And I mean, I don't know. Zelensky is a very, popular figure among European Union type people. So, you're saying it's not personal or specific to Elon, which I take the broader point that, yes, the regime, the law is not what we have here in the United States. So they would take anyone moving in this direction. Increasingly, they want all the tech companies to move in the direction of policing more misinformation. But I could see them being specifically peeved with Elon, given Zelensky's mad at Elon for the things he said about the conflict,
but those are two different things, aren't they? Zelensky's mad at Elon Musk because Elon Musk did the crime of suggesting
saying something
peace.
Totally reasonable.
Right. Elon was right about that one, in my humble opinion, at least. And Zelensky's response was completely not substantive. It was the equivalent of, well, you're not standing in my shoes. Come here and take a look, and then you'll change your mind. Well, I mean, I think the principles upon which Elon is basing his desire for peace don't have anything to do with disregarding the horrors of war. Quite to the contrary, it's because of the horrors of war and the suffering that comes from extending the crisis that Elon is agitating.
We're all allowed to have opinions about the conflict being bad.
Right.
I mean, our tax dollars are supporting the conflict, so we're allowed to this is the tyranny of expertise. Where, well, unless you have a master's in international relations, you don't have any right to say what. No, we all have the right to say that we need to bring this conflict to an end. And Elon had one plan. If you have a better plan, sure, let's hear it. But we're not just going to continue. We're not just going to fund this forever without any kind of negotiations.
Yeah, I'm Team Elon on that one.
All right, looking forward to your radar, Brianna. That'll be up next. Stay with us.